So, I'm sick, and I didn't have the strength to go into work. But I thought, who needs excessive amounts of rest? Mind and body. When you can just make a video. Year after year goes by, and I hear nothing about it. Maybe inklings. I'm talking about a Superman game. Now, don't get me wrong. They've had their fair share of games in the past. Superman, I'm talking about. Everybody knows the Superman Nintendo 64, which was like atrociously bad. You fly around the city doing that whole weird aerial thing. Half the time the controls didn't work properly. And then you got games like this. Superman, Shadow of Apocalypse, PlayStation 2. Now, here's the thing. I loved this game. Honestly, one of the very few Superman games that I think they got right. The animated series look is a classic look. I can't find a single person that would disagree that aesthetic isn't, a bad choice. And honestly, a little clunky, but for the time, it played really well. I mean, it was the first Superman game that we ever got where you actually got to do a mixture of everything. It had a good gameplay system for air and ground combat. Yeah, I know that the combat again was clunky, and it was kind of just simple button masher, and you hope that you hit somebody in close proximity, but it didn't matter because of the fact that you had a mixture of all of Superman's powers, his assortments. You had his laser vision that you could use. He had the flight, obviously, and it was fast. It wasn't super fast, but it got you around. It got you there. It was an open world. You were kind of always closed off in little arenas in a way because it was level-based, but that was just hindered to the time, but still, it worked. I felt like you had that freedom to choose, what objectives to do first and all that stuff. Whoever chose to make this game, I'm assuming Atari because it says Atari on there, I don't know, but whoever chose to make this game, they knew what they were doing, and honestly, I think they did it right. This isn't the only one. We had Superman Returns, which if I had a copy of it here, I would, because I remember getting that for an Xbox 360. I just remember that the fun part about it being, again, the trick to a Superman game is having a good system for flight, combat, and ground combat, and a good transition between the two. And that's where a lot of these games kind of have a little sense of clunkiness, but something like Superman Returns for Xbox 360, I still found that to be very fun. And the one thing that they updated for that game, which wasn't in this guy right here, which I thought was fantastic, was they gave the feeling that the flying was a lot faster. Yes, you did move a lot quicker, and you did have a sense of free roam because you had an entire city that you could work with. But that visual look of the wind literally ripping by you when you went full speed, you actually kind of picked up speed as you kept going in the sky, and the sound of the cape flapping and the thunder boom of the air just ripping apart as you bullet through the sky was so satisfying as a kid. I understand that making this sort of game and making it work well with the idea that you have a completely overpowered god as a main character, what kind of hurdles can you really throw towards him? What kind of game could you possibly make that would give a level of stakes and be captivating enough and also fun enough and not clunky? That's the big thing here, not clunky. Which I believe that the technology is there. I feel like we're definitely at that point. You've seen some of these games out and around here. There's a specific game called Undefeated. This game right here, Undefeated. Now, if you don't already know, this game literally came out months for me recording this video, and honestly, it is the closest thing to a modern day Superman game that we could ever get. It's got everything that you've seen in a Superman game before, but slightly polished. You have ground combat with things like dash speed, so you can literally zigzag from block to block in the city landscape, just completely downing enemies and monstrous machines in a single punch, really emphasizing the godlike power that this character has. And then you have the air traversal, which is the same thing with honestly pretty decent aerial combat with a good lock-on system, and all of a sudden I'm seeing how it's playing, and I'm seeing, the punching and the flying and the powers, and I'm like, this is a Superman game. This is proof right here that we have the ability to make another Superman game and really go all out with it. It's something you can just get lost in. It's kind of archaic in a way, and I feel like with something like Superman, you could have that. That's not to say you can't make a very well-polished and well-fleshed-out story-based game for Superman. And I'm talking about like really cinematic story-based, like the Arkham games, or something as cinematic as even like The Last of Us or God of War. It is there, the potential is there, so let's talk about that. If the gameplay's not the issue, then what is the issue? The story? Is that what it is? Not necessarily, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because there's so much content to choose from when it comes to storytelling for a character like Superman. Now think about this. You have entire decades of comic book lore to choose from. I know what you're thinking. How is that going to fix the God mentality of it, the fact that you're playing as a being that is just completely OP, unstoppable? Like, what could you really put up against him that's going to make any battle or any story, any problem that he needs to try to hurdle through, actually a problem? My first example, my recommendation, All-Star Superman. Now think about this. We have had countless, and I mean countless movies that had to deal with, Superman being the OP guy, and then Lex Luthor or somebody decides to run on in, and then, oh, magic, they have the green kryptonite, all that stuff, and all of a sudden he's weak, and now he's got to try to fight past it, blah, 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 blah. Or that's something that people would probably expect from a Superman game. What is something new we can bring to the table? He's thrown through a loop, where he has the same problem where he realizes, oh no, my cells are starting to explode at an accelerated rate, and I don't know how to stop it. But then all of a sudden somebody comes up with a plan for him. He's like, all right, cool, I can save myself and I can do that. And he's like, all right, well, what do I got to do? And the game starts off going down that route of basically saying like, I got to save myself. But then he realizes he runs into hurdles, and maybe there's more of a morale, more of a decision process. Wow. I didn't realize until I started editing how spastic all that sounded. What I'm trying to say is you could have a story like Superman's cells exploding, and he's proposed with a solution to that obstacle, a answer to his inevitable death. Now you have stakes, now you have a goal, and you spend the entire game going and reaching that goal, or at least attempting to, but along the way, there are decisions that probably need to be made in order to test the god's morals. And now it turns from a physical endeavor to an emotional and mental endeavor. And I think that could make for a really rich storytelling for a game. But I hope you get the point now. Now back to your spastically scheduled program. I mean, look at that. This is what I'm talking about. If you're somebody who's really in touch with their gaming side, you will know that this was footage that was released in probably 2011, 12, or 13, somewhere around that decade. It was leaked footage of a potential Superman game in the making, and it has this cool cinematic QuickTime event situation. Now, I'm going to say this right now. I know a lot of you have this unwanted hate for QuickTime events, and there's some games that do it horribly. Spider-Man 3, I'm talking to you.
Help! Please! Someone! I'm going to die!
But still, I'm kind of a big fan of them, especially when they were in the God of War series, because I felt like they did that really right. And I saw this when I was, a lot younger, and I was just like, oh my god, I hope this happens, because, I was still fresh in the God of War. I love the entire mechanic of it. It was so great. It was so freaking amazing, and I was ecstatic, and I just waited day by day, month by month, hoping that we were going to get an announcement for a new Superman game. But that time never came. And it's unfortunate. We've had, for the past decade and a half, it feels like, leaks of a potential Superman game, or just like murmurs of like companies like Insomniac Games, who I believe Insomniac's known for doing the Arkham games, I believe, potentially tackling a Superman title for themselves. And, I heard that about a few years ago, and I was like, oh great, finally, they already did the Batman game, so they'll probably dive in on doing this. It's an obvious choice. They're gonna do it. This is real, right? No, it's not. And then as a Superman fan and also a gamer, you kind of like get discouraged over the years. And the fact that I think it was the EA announcements that came by in the past few months they listed their lineup, and not a single person, not a single company decided to mention a Superman game. You know, there's a good portion of us that were still holding out for a fantastic Superman game in the future. And we're let down. All the time. At this point, I've run out of patience. I'm asking the question of why. Why is nobody willing to pick up the torch? Why is nobody willing to make the game which I feel like all of us want? And I think it's because of the fact that there's just not a lot of uproar yet. So that's why I'm curious about what you guys think down in the comments about the potential for a Superman game. Have you been waiting as long as I have? Do you have any ideas on who may be making a potential Superman game, or what you would like to see if one was to be made? I feel like this is just a massive conversation starter, and I feel like things don't get done unless we talk about it. So please let me know down in the comments. But also, while you're here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Catch you guys on the next one. See ya.